looking, I would advise making contact with someone prior to going down to City Hall. And that way you will be able to have all the information or any documents that are required prior to making a trip downtown. Next slide, please. So one of our functions is to do on-site inspections for liquor, PPA, public place of amusement, and tobacco licenses to either approve or disapprove those licenses. So the other departments that are on this webinar, they also participate in this process on the task force days. The thing about it is we do not come together. Each department comes separately. So when you're applying for a liquor license, you cannot be within 100 feet of a place of worship. BACP does not, it does not matter who or what you worship. It can be anything, but you cannot be 100 feet of a place of worship. School, which is elementary or high school, hospital, library. For PPA license, the public place of amusement, you would need that if you are providing live entertainment or charging an admission fee. You cannot be within 200 feet of the place of worship, schools, hospitals, library. For the liquor and the PPA license, you must have your public notice posted, and it must be able to be seen from the public way. When the investigator comes out to do the on-site inspection, we will have a copy of your site plans. BACP does not dictate the site plans or how it should be. It just states that the interior of your establishment must match the site plan. If there's a discrepancy, you have one of two options. You can either revise your site plan or have your interior according to the way it is set up on the site plans. We do take photographs of the interior. Those photographs are actually imaged to the business account. So later on down the line, when there's investigations for compliance, we will see how you are supposed to have been set up. So if, for example, if you are a restaurant and you're applying for the incidental on premises incidental activity, consumption on premises incidental activity liquor license, you can't turn into a social club or a lounge. For the tobacco license, you cannot be 100 feet from a daycare center, elementary school, or any facility with children under the age of 18. You cannot be within 500 feet of a high school. We do not have site plans for the tobacco license. For tobacco, we're just concerned about your location restrictions. For the liquor, PPA, and tobacco licenses, if there is a location restriction, that location restriction determines where the measurement is taken from. So for example, if there's a school behind the business, that measurement will be taken from there. There's a misconception that measurements will be taken from the front door. With the liquor and tobacco licenses, you cannot have any of those items on the premises prior to your licenses being approved and issued. Next slide, please. So we operate 7 days a week. So an investigator is subject to come to your business at any time. We do not make appointments. We just kind of do random visits. When an investigator comes to your business, you must comply. If you do not cooperate during an investigation, we do have a citation that we can issue. It's called interference. If you have an employee on the business, on the premises, they're actually acting as an agent of the business. So business owners do not necessarily have to be on the premises for an investigator to come in and do an investigation. Investigators ensure that you are operating within the scope of your business license. As the business owner, it is your responsibility to be clear and concise of what your business activity will be, and then that way you will be directed on the appropriate licenses that you have. Investigators will check your business license to ensure that all of your business activity is licensed. For ownership, if you are a corporation, that investigator will also check the state corporation documents. So the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois documents must be consistent. So the president, secretary, whatever the officers are, they must be consistent. If there's an issue with that, citations will be issued. And that's just so you'll be operating in compliance. If there's a change in ownership, you do have, I believe, 60 days to inform BACP of that. Also, if you are a family member or friend of a business owner who has passed away, you cannot operate that business with that person's license. You must get that license in your name. Next slide, please. Investigators also check for public way use permits. So if there's anything that's over the public way, it doesn't matter how small it is, it must have a permit. Whether it's a security camera, sign, canopy, you must submit an application that has been completed by you and signed off by the alderman. Prior to you submitting it to public way use, it's a good idea to just have a copy for your records. If you're selling tobacco, there's so many rules and regulations that you must comply with. For cigarettes, the cigarettes must have the City of Chicago tax stamp. If those cigarettes that you're selling do not have the City of Chicago tax stamp, they are considered illegal and they will be confiscated. There are several citations that will be issued with that. The tobacco warning sign must be posted. We do have a program, tobacco sales to minors. Now, BACP does a great job with providing information to business owners. And if you have a tobacco license, you will get this information about the TS2M program and just being in compliance as you sell tobacco. There's a misconception that the TS2M program is entrapment. That is incorrect. Entrapment would be if we coerce you to do something that you wouldn't ordinarily do. When you're selling tobacco and tobacco products, you must ask the age or even ask ID of the person that you are selling to. So with the TS2M program, an investigator goes into the business with the minor. That investigator is undercover. However, they're close enough to hear the conversation. That minor must be truthful with their age. Also, if you're selling tobacco, you cannot, if you want to be a retail tobacco store, you cannot be within 1,000 feet of an existing retail tobacco store. That's in addition to the other location requirements for a tobacco license. If you want to be a vape store, you cannot be within 1,000 feet of an existing vape store, and that's also in addition to the other tobacco location requirements. If you are, if you're allowing smoking on the premises, you have to be in a building that is freestanding, meaning that there cannot be any buildings on either side. And if you're on a storefront, if there's other levels, they cannot be occupied. Now, there is an exception. It can be owner occupied. The building can be. If you're smoking on the premises, you cannot sell food and or liquor. When you have tobacco products for sale, you must keep a copy of your sales receipts. So keep that in some type of booklet, because when investigators come in, they will check for that and anything else during that premise check. Next slide, please. Retail rules. Investigators also check for your sales receipt. So there are some businesses who may have your policies, your refund return policy on the other side of the receipt. That's fine, but that's not sufficient. So whatever your policies are, it must be posted for the consumer to see. During investigations, investigators will take several items through the checkout to ensure that those items are being charged correctly, and also the taxes as well. That will be calculated during that time. If there's any issues with overcharging for the items or even on the sales tax, citations will be issued. Next slide, please. We also check for outdated merchandise. So the violation occurs when you have outdated merchandise mixed with items that are not outdated. You must ensure that the items, the food items, even general merchandise that have expiration dates are not expired. There are many items that one would not even believe or think of that have expiration dates. If baby formula is found that is expired, it will be confiscated. I believe those fines are $1,000 a can. They're pretty costly. So just ensure that you're checking the expiration dates. It might be a tedious process, but it will benefit you in the long run. If you are an APS store, alternative pricing system, you must go through the application process for that. An investigator will come out to do that on-site inspection for that. So you normally see APS at maybe bigger stores, and that's when they have the shelf tax. So your shelf tax must be consistent with that product. Investigators will check that the shelf tags are correct. If you're not an APS store, your items must be individually price marked, and that ensures that everyone is being honest. So if you're selling whatever items that you're selling, you can't switch up the prices on people. Recalls. We do provide the information about recalls. You must ensure that you're not selling any item that has been recalled. Investigators also check for practices of deception. An example of deception in a grocery store would be if an investigator has an item, a gallon of milk, and there's a price of $5.99, but then you go to the checkout and it's $7.99. That will be an example of deception. If you have plastic bags for sale, you must have reusable bags on the premises and recycling bins as well. Next slide. Weights and measures. So we also have a team that goes out to the gas stations and also to ensure that the scales in grocery stores or whatever store that has a scale, that they're calibrated correctly. When a team goes out to the gas station, they ensure that there isn't water in the gas or the pump running so rapidly that it's overcharging customers, and then also making sure that the prices that are listed are consistent with the price of the gas. Next slide, please. So we do more, BACP does more than just issue enforcement for violations. We do provide information to business owners to ensure that they're operating in compliance. We also have a program, ACP, and what the investigator does, they will come out to the business and check for any violations. But during this visit, it's not enforcement focused, it's informational purposes. So if violations are found, that investigator will talk with the person on the premises and give them or guide them so that way they will be in compliance. The phone number, email addresses that are posted on the slide, please utilize it. If you have any questions, please reach out. Also, in addition to when investigators are on the premises and you have violations, they're issuing enforcement, although they will explain everything. If you have questions, please feel free to ask those questions. Next slide, please. Department of Buildings.
Hello, my name is Ivan Sanchez. I'm a building inspector with the Department of Buildings. Uh, before going into the main content of the slides, just a couple of general points. Just a couple of general points regarding the Department of Buildings. Department of Buildings is one department with two key separate functions. One function is here at City Hall, plan review, permitting. So our plan review staff is here at City Hall. The other function is the inspection side. So after a permit has been issued, then of course field inspections are required to make sure that the project is being built according to the approved drawings. So our field inspectors are housed at an off-site building. So again, after a permit is issued, then your contractor, somebody from your side, would be scheduling online the different required permit inspections for that given permit that you have, and then wait for those inspectors to come to do those walkthroughs. So again, it's one department with two key separate functions, depending on what phase of the project depending on what phase the project is in. It's a for example, if it's still in the design phase, then your design professional would be submitting the drawings online through our e-plan system. There is no such thing as coming to drop off a whole set of drawings here at the City Hall, and it's your design professional submitting drawings online. Those drawings are submitted online, and then they'll get reviewed by our plan review staff. They'll identify any corrections that need to be made. That conversation goes back and forth via that e-plan portal system, and eventually, when all the corrections have been made by the design professional, then the permit can be paid for and issued and all that. Now that you have the permit in hand, that's when you can start construction. You cannot start construction before the permit. You start construction after you receive the permit. So you receive the permit as you're doing your construction. When you're ready for those different inspections, carpentry, drywall, plumbing, electrical, etc. When you're ready for those different inspections, then you'd be scheduling those inspections online on the building department website to request those and go through those walkthroughs. So again, those are just some general points for the Department of Buildings. Next slide. For certain license applications, an inspection by an SIP building inspector is required. SIP stands for Special Inspection Program. A special inspection program is one of many inspection units in the building department. A couple other examples of the inspection units would include refrigeration, plumbing, electrical, new construction, which is basically carpentry, drywall work. So again, there's many different inspection units in the building department. SIP is just one of them. Uh, Depending on what question you may have during the construction process, of course, make sure to ask your question. If you have an electrical question, ask it to the electrical inspector. You have a plumbing question, ask it to the plumbing inspector. But again, going back to the details here on the slides, like I said, for certain license applications, an inspection by an SIP building inspector is required. Some of the different license types that require an SIP building inspector. Some of those license types include the different liquor licenses, performing arts venue and amusement licenses, vacation rentals, children activity facilities, indoor special events, single room occupancy hotels. Business affairs will determine which of the various city inspectors are required for your license application and inspection. So for example, an amusement license, an amusement license might require like seven different inspectors. A patio liquor license might be like three or four different inspectors. So again, it all depends on what license type you're applying for. That'll determine the quantity of inspectors. That'll determine the type of inspectors for what's called the new license task force inspection. Those usually happen on a given Tuesday or Thursday for the first time out for the business. Other examples of inspections that are done by special inspections, that includes an existing annual restaurant inspection, a license renewal inspection for certain license types. So, for example, the rooftops at Wrigley Field, bed and breakfast. Those are two examples of license types that require a renewal inspection. The amusement license. So nightclubs that charge at the door, that those nightclubs would have, and various other venues depending on what their activities are. So yes, there are some restaurants that have an amusement license. Uh, so so if you have a type of license that requires a renewal inspection, then before that next license window is approved, then an inspection by an inspector from SIP is required to to go there and make sure that the space is code compliant. And other examples, another inspection type that's done by SIP is an annual assembly inspection. The building code defines assembly as venues of over 100 people. Some common venues, a short list of common venues that are over 100 people. That would include funeral homes, banquet halls, hotels, museums, sports stadiums, nightclubs, health clubs, churches, schools, theaters. So again, that's just a short list of venues that are commonly over 100 people. The building code requires them to be inspected annually. The building code sets an inspection fee for the annual assembly inspection. Um, some of the different building elements that are reviewed for code compliance, that includes exit requirements, stairwells, fire safety, fire enclosures, maximum capacity signs and drawings being posted. So those are just some examples of building elements that are reviewed for code compliance when an SIP inspector does their walkthrough. Next slide. That's in terms of being ready for the inspection. Make sure that your building permits, make sure that your building permit for the tenant space, for your tenant space and or building, if applicable, is make sure that building permit has all of the required final approvals, final signatures from the different city inspectors. Inspection requests for a building permit that is to be scheduled online via the chicago.gov/buildings website. So you, your contractor, your architect, somebody from your side would be going to that website, find the section that says inspections, and then fill in all the required data to request whatever inspection type you're ready to receive. So if you're ready to receive a rough electrical inspection, then enter all the data to request that rough electrical inspection. If you're also ready to receive a rough plumbing inspection, then refresh the page and request that rough plumbing inspection. If all you did on the website on that one visit, if all you did on the website is request a rough electrical inspection, then that's all you requested. So requesting a rough electrical inspection does not also request all the other inspection types that your project may require. So your contractor, somebody from your side should be knowledgeable of what inspection units are required to do a walkthrough for the construction work that's going on, for that construction work that's being done under that building permit. So if you're doing, for example, if you're doing a bathroom, a new bathroom is going to require new drywall, new plumbing, new electrical, new ventilation. So that right there, just one simple new bathroom is going to require four different inspectors to look at it for a rough inspection phase, the four different and those four inspection units again to come back out there to look at it for a final approval walkthrough. Inspections for the building permit, those are separate from the licensed task force inspection that's scheduled with business affairs. So again, don't get those two processes confused. That for your license inspection, that's between you, your attorney, your contractor, whomever you're designating, whether it's yourself or whether you're having assistance from somebody's having those conversations with business affairs to schedule what's called the licensed task force inspection for a walkthrough for the license that you're applying for. That process is separate from any construction work process that's being done under a building permit. So if you're doing work under a building permit, then you need to schedule the different inspections for the building permit via the website that I was just talking about a moment ago. If you're if your business is also trying to obtain a certain type of license, then you also need to be talking to business affairs and schedule your license task force inspection with business affairs. So again, that's two separate processes. So make sure to understand that distinction. Make sure to talk with the right departments, schedule with the right departments, depending on what you have going on for your location. To make sure that the work is completed, make sure the construction work is completed, be ready for the inspection. If the space is still under construction, of course we can't approve our portion of the walkthrough for your license task force inspection. We cannot approve our portion of the walkthrough if your place is still under construction. For us to be able to approve our walkthrough, I mean, of course, everything has to be building code compliant. The place has to be pretty much finished out. That's and pretty much be ready to receive the public. The approved city stamped drawings must be on site at all times. The original building permits must be displayed at all times, and that's clearly stated on the building permit. So again, think about it this way: if your approved drawings, if your approved city stamp drawings are not on site, how exactly is the contractor knowing how to build out your project if the approved drawings are not on site? So again, it's very important that the approved drawings be on site. It's equally important for the contractor to be building exactly what the approved drawings show. So if the drawings are showing a 20-foot wall, a 20-foot long wall, well, then he should be building a 20-foot long wall. He shouldn't build a 10-foot long wall. If the drawings are showing the bar on the north side of the business, well, then he should not be building the bar on the south side of the business. So again, it's very important that the approved drawings be on site. It's equally important that the contractor build what's shown on those approved drawings. The building permit must be well displayed. Must be well displayed. It should be easily able to see it as one is walking on the sidewalk. By having it well displayed, that minimizes the possibility of people in the neighborhood calling a 311 complaint against your space, against your location. So, of course, when a complaint is made, of course, an inspection is going to happen to verify the validity of that complaint. So again, you want to minimize those unexpected visits. Well, then make sure that the building permit stays well displayed at all times. And there's been many occasions where we will go out to a job site and ask where the permit is. It's like, oh yeah, I left it. I have it in safekeeping at home in Evanston or whatever. It's like, okay, well that's not where it needs to be, or the contractor has it at the other job sites. Okay, well again, don't know what the permit for this job site on Belmont is doing at some other job sites. It doesn't need to be at another job site. It needs to be at the location where the work is going on. A certificate of occupancy letter, if it's required for a building permit, that must be issued before a license is approved. This document is not the same thing as a maximum capacity sign, also known as an occupancy placard. So, certificate of occupancy letter that's required for certain building permits. It's not required it's not required for all building permits. So, for example, a new 80-story high rise in the downtown area, a project like that is going to have multiple building permits going on for itself. At least one of them, if not more, at least one of them is going to require a certificate of occupancy letter to be issued for that permit. And if that certificate of occupancy letter, if it says something like all spaces except the fifth floor are okay for occupancy, and your small little restaurant happens to be on the fifth floor, but your permit doesn't require that certificate of occupancy letter. Well, that's great. It doesn't require it. Doesn't Your permit doesn't require that letter, but the entire floor at that project, is still affected by the bigger scope of work permit going on at that address. So again, if a certificate of occupancy letter gets issued for like what we call partial occupancy, like for example, given the exception statement of like all spaces except the fifth floor are ready for occupancy, well then any and all spaces on that fifth floor example are going to be affected by that statement. So we would not be able to approve a license until until whatever work that still needs to happen on the fifth floor is completed. And once that is completed, then that permit would receive it's what we call a full certificate of occupancy, saying that all spaces, including the fifth floor, are now okay for occupancy. So then we would be able to do our walkthrough and potentially approve year one space on the fifth floor in that example. Next slide. The licensed task force inspection. Be aware of the number and types of inspections that business affairs requires and assigns to your licensed task force inspection. The number and types of inspections is based on the specific license that you are applying for. Like I gave the example earlier, an amusement license might be like 7 different inspectors. A patio liquor license might be 3 or 4 different inspectors. So again, it all depends. It's a For your licensed task force inspection, that all depends on what specific license your hair salon place, your new restaurant, your new pickleball court, et cetera, whatever space you're trying to open. Each space is going to require different license types depending on what activities you have going on in there. Those different license types require require different inspections. That's inspectors for your assigned licensed task force inspection. They'll arrive individually throughout the assigned date. So again, it's important that you know the quantity of inspectors, the type of inspectors. It's important for you to know that your business affairs consultant would be able to tell you, yeah, you're applying for this license type. Well, you're going to get these 7 inspections on Thursday the 8th. On Thursday, January 8th, you're scheduled to receive these 7 different inspectors. So that way, at least that way you'll have some idea that, okay, well then on Thursday, January 8th, I'm supposed to get these 7 different inspectors. So I know to be on the lookout for them at my business. So because if you don't have that information, if you don't ask for that information, say for example that 2 of them show up before 12 o'clock, and then you think that, well, the 2 of them showed up before 12 o'clock, so I must be finished with my inspections for my license task force inspection on this date. Yeah, well, but you were really assigned 5 of them, for example. Say you were assigned 5 of them in this example. Well, now in this example, also I'll say that you left the business at 12 o'clock after you finished with the first 2 inspectors. You left the business. Now the business is closed up, but you were really assigned 5 inspectors. You didn't know about this, so you closed the business. You went to go do other errands, and now you're gonna get 3 different stickers from 3 different inspectors on your door. You'll be making 3 different phone calls to schedule 3 separate inspection appointments, all because you didn't know that you had to wait for 3 more inspectors on that assigned licensed task force inspection date. So if you want to minimize those kind of headaches to yourself, then be aware of how many inspectors, be aware of the quantity of inspectors, and make sure that you receive them all on your assigned date. Inspectors need to have access to all areas that are used by the business. So yes, we do need to go down into the basement. If you have a if your furnace is down in the basement, yes, we do need to yes, we do need to go down into the basement to make sure everything's code compliant. If you have a storage space in the basement or somewhere else in the building, yes, we do need to go look at the storage space. If you're a small space in a larger building, yes, we do need to walk the different exit stairs. We need to walk the different exit corridors, make sure that all the exit corridors are free and clear of any obstructions, make sure that the exit doors open in the direction of egress, make sure that the exit paths lead to an area of safety, make sure that the exit stairwells aren't don't have any obstructions. Too many times we've seen ladders, boxes, tables, and chairs. It's in exit corridors, in stairwells, and all of those examples are a building code violation. They are they do lead to dangerous conditions. If you're trying to evacuate an entire building in a short amount of time, if a fire happens or whatever the emergency may be, and people are using the exit stairwells, exit corridors to evacuate a building in a short amount of time, and then but the venue happens to have boxes and ladders and chairs all over the place in the exit hallways and the exit stairwells. Well, all those things now become a trip hazard. Now people are going to be tripping over ladders and being knocked on the head with a ladder, and now you're going to have a pileup of people all in an exit stairwell, all because the business decided to use the exit stairwells, exit hallways as storage areas when that is not what they are meant to be. It's ask inspectors for their contact information, contact their inspection unit individually for a reinspection if you failed their disciplines inspection. Of course, do this after you've corrected the items that were identified by the different inspectors. So, say for example, your space was assigned 4 inspectors on a given Tuesday or Thursday, and all 4 inspectors did visit your location on that assigned Tuesday or Thursday, but two of them passed you and two of them failed you. Say, for example, it's electrical and plumbing that failed you. Well, for their licensed task force inspection, they'll be identifying to you, your representative, who's ever there to receive them. They'll be identifying what the deficiencies are for their licensed task force walkthrough, and so they'll identify those deficiencies to you, and of course of course your contractor, somebody has to correct those electrical and plumbing deficiencies in this example, and then when they've been corrected, then you can contact electrical and plumbing inspection unit again to request their reinspection and hopefully pass the second time around. Same thing happens for whichever discipline it may be. If fire failed you, if health department failed you, whatever discipline may have failed you, again, of course, you have to make those corrections and then contact that inspection unit for a reinspection. Next slide. Maximum capacity signs, also known as occupancy placards. Maximum capacity signs are required for places of assembly where the total capacity of persons meeting for civic, religious, social, or similar activities exceeds 100, as well as for all liquor license applicants, regardless of capacity. For a blank application of an occupancy application, you can go to the link that's shown there, chicago.gov/BACP, and then under the heading of I want to, find that heading of I want to, and then hit apply for, and then select the line that says maximum capacity sign. So you go to that maximum capacity sign web page on the city's website. You'll find the different PDF files, a blank occupancy application PDF file, some sample drawings, as well as some general instructions of what information the drawings need to contain. The occupancy application and the floor plan drawings would be submitted as PDF files, preferably as one PDF file, via email to the email address that's shown here, DOB capsign at cityofchicago.org. So that occupancy application with its floor plan drawings would be sent to that email address. Make sure that the floor plan drawings from your design professional, make sure that the floor plan drawings show all the dimensions of the different rooms. Make sure that the drawing is to scale. Make sure that the drawing shows all the furniture that's going to be found on site. So again, ideally drawings are submitted on 11 by 17 size 11 by 17 size paper. Again, it needs to be easily readable. All the text needs to be easily readable. For whatever reason, customers or design professionals sometimes decide to use 1 point size font on the drawings, and guess what? Can't read 1 point size text font for the measurements or for text that's the text that's shown on the drawing. So then things need to be easily readable. Things need to be legible. So using minuscule font does not accomplish that idea. All those materials will be reviewed for consistency with business licensing details when applicable, and then sent on to zoning and building departments for the different reviews, inspections, and approval prior to the issuance of a maximum capacity sign. Issuance of a maximum capacity sign, an SIP inspection is completed to verify that submitted drawings match the physical space. So, of course, when we do that occupancy sign inspection, we're making sure that the occupancy drawings that were submitted to the department, making sure that the occupancy drawings match what was actually built at the location. So if the drawings are showing a 10-foot long bar, then we're looking for a 10-foot long bar to be there. If the drawings are showing a 10 by 20 kitchen, then we're looking for a 10 by 20 kitchen to be there. If the drawings are showing two different exit routes, then we're looking for two different exit routes to be there. So, and it's important that the drawings that are submitted for the occupancy application purpose, it's important that they match the space. Uh, they, they also make sure to understand that the capacity sign, the occupancy sign inspection, and the license task force inspection, those are usually completed together on your assigned license task force date. For that reason, of course, make sure to submit your occupancy application well in advance of your license task force date. So, for example, if your task force date was tomorrow, Thursday, January 8th, it would not be a good idea for your architect or for whomever, your architect, your expediter, your attorney, whomever is handling that transaction. It would not be a good idea for that person to submit the occupancy application on the morning of your license task force inspection. That's not a good idea. It's that when that's submitted, it still has to go through different reviews before it gets into the inspectors, before the occupancy application gets into the inspector's hands. So in that example, that in this bad example, that we'll still be able to intake it, but the inspector will already be out the door before he or she gets that occupancy application. Again, it's a different departments have to review it before it gets into the inspector's hands. Those things don't take 2 minutes or whatever by each department. It takes time. So you, your attorney, your architect, whomever, should be submitting the occupancy application and the associated drawings well in advance of your license task force inspection date. Make sure we're going to be making sure that all the furniture and permanent fixtures that are shown on the drawings are in place at the location. So another example is if the drawings are showing a 20-foot long seating bench, then we're looking for that 20-foot long seating bench to be there. So again, it's important that the drawings and the space match each other. If the drawings and the space don't match each other, then we cannot approve that occupancy application, and you'll have to start that process over again. When exposed wood or fabric is present, you should also make sure that any flame spread rating certificates are on hand for when the inspector is asked to see that verification. Next slide. This is one example of a building permit. So information that's included on here would include the permit number, the address of where the work is taking place, a short description of the work that's allowed to be happening would be included on here, the owner's information, the country's information, the date that the permit was issued. Make sure to read the fine print down, make sure to read the fine print at the bottom of the permit. So again, so this is one type of building permit that's issued by the department. Next slide. This would be the back of a good building permit. You can see on here the different inspection units that have visited the location are listed, the inspector's name, uh, the 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 inspector's ID number, the date of their visit, their inspection comments, on the bottom of this page. It explains what a rough inspection is and what a final inspection is. A rough inspection, generally speaking, is before the drywall is placed. A final inspection is after the drywall is placed. If you want to avoid the possibility of having to cut holes in the drywall and rip out some drywall because your rough inspection didn't happen when it was supposed to happen, well then again, if you want to avoid those possibilities, well then make sure that the rough inspection happens before the drywall is placed. An inspector cannot see through the drywall. An inspector cannot see through the drywall to make sure that everything in the wall cavity is code compliant. So again, that's why it's important that the rough inspection take place before the drywall is placed. It's you can see on here another conversation that often happens is will be something to the effect of, well, new construction. The last line here on the permit here on this slide, the last line says new construction gave a final approval on a given date. Another common conversation that I've had in the past is that, yeah, the new construction or whichever discipline, electrical, plumbing, whomever, already gave a final approval for my permit. Yes, that's true, and that's great for that one inspection unit. That means nothing for the other inspection units that still have to do a final walkthrough, give a final approval. So just because you got one final approval does not mean anything to the other four or five or however many other inspectors that need to do a walkthrough of your project. So I've gone to inspection sites where there's only been one or two signatures, and one of those signatures would be like a electrical final approval. It's like, okay, well, but you did all this other carpentry work, plumbing work, ventilation work. Where's your approval? Where's your final approval from those disciplines? Like, I didn't know that I needed it. I already got a final approval from electrical, so I thought that I was done. It's like, yeah, that's a final approval from electrical just means a final approval from electrical. It doesn't mean anything else for the other units that also have to give a final approval depending on the work that's going on at that location. Next slide. This is an example of what's called an express permit. So this type of permit is issued for smaller kind of construction work. So, for example, this permit here is like for a line voltage electrical work. It could also be for like, say, for example, just replacing some sheets of drywall at your location. So again, it's whichever permit you receive, whichever permit is applicable for the work that you want to be doing, whether it's the other permit or whether it's this express permit type, whichever permit your project requires, of course, make sure that you only do the work that's allowed for that permit. So, for example, if you got a permit like this to replace 10 sheets of drywall because of some water damage, for example, well, then that's all that the permit is good for. So, we've been to in many locations where a customer will get a permit like that that'll say like replacing 10 sheets of drywall, but then they'll also go and build out an entire second floor or go and build out a new basement speakeasy lounge or whatever. It's like, well, the permit doesn't say creating a new basement speakeasy lounge. The permit just says replacing 10 sheets of drywall for some water damage. So when you exceed the scope of work that's allowed under whichever permit type that you receive, when you exceed that scope of work, when the inspection happens, now you're going to be given a big stop work order orange sticker on your door. Everybody's going to be sent home. All the trades that are working on your project are going to be sent home, potentially potentially going to be sent to building court. Now you're looking at attorney's fees and court costs, loss of a lot of time, all because you thought that, well, I'm just going to get a simple permit to replace textured drywall, and then on the down low I'll build out my speakeasy lounge at the same time instead of going through the correct process. Again, many places get caught. Many places do and will get caught, and that's when you create a lot of headaches for yourself. So you want to avoid that. Get the get the right permit for the given work that you're doing, and only do the work that's allowed to be done on that permit that you received. And next slide. This is an example of an occupancy sign, an occupancy placard, also known as a maximum capacity sign. So as it says on here, occupancy by more than X number of persons is dangerous and unlawful. The name of the business is shown down in the corner. The address, the room name is listed down there. The date that the date that the capacity sign was approved is listed on the opposite side. The application number is listed on there. On the top of the occupancy sign here, it says that this sign must be posted and displayed in a conspicuous, well lit location at the main entrance to the room or the space. That means exactly what it says. That should not be interpreted as you can put it inside the coat closet, or you can put it underneath the bar, or you can keep it back in the manager's office. That's not what that statement means. That statement means a customer should be able to walk through the main door of your business. The customer should be able to walk into that private dining space, whatever it may be, and easily be able to go into that space and look up, so to speak, and easily be able to identify that this given room cannot handle more than X number of people. It's when the sign is not well displayed, when the sign is lost, when the sign is not well displayed, when the sign is lost, or whatever the case may be, that is a building code violation, and you will be written up for it, and then you have to go through the process to apply for that occupancy sign. And for example, just because John's Diner on Belmont Avenue left their previous occupancy sign there, it doesn't mean that Sally's nightclub can use the same space and use the same sign. So again, occupancy signs are not transferable. Just like if you find a driver's license on the sidewalk, you just can't take the driver's license that belongs to somebody else and say like, oh, it's a driver's license, I'm just going to use it for myself. It's like, no, these are legal documents. So if it was issued to one business on a given date, it's good for that business, as long as that business is there. When that business is gone, regardless of them taking the sign with them, it doesn't belong. It's not going to belong to the new business that takes over that location. So again, unfortunately, many customers think that way, and it's like, oh, the space already has an occupancy sign, so I'm just going to keep and hold on to that. It's like, yeah, it doesn't belong to you. That belonged to the previous business, or the business that was there 3 businesses ago. That hasn't been there in 10 years or whatever. That's next slide. This is an example of a certificate of occupancy. You can see that this document looks nothing like the previous sign. The only thing in common is that they have the word occupancy in their document title. So this document here is certificate of occupancy. You can see that the date that it was issued is listed on here. The description of work is blacked out on here. That description of work is identical to the building permit that it belongs to. You can see that this document is basically just a long legal paragraph saying that the project was done according to plans and permits allowed under permit 1234 issued on January 1st, or whatever the permit number may be. This document here is also the one that I said that could sometimes be issued with a partial occupancy statement. So on the bottom of this document, sometimes it's issued as partial occupancy granted for all floors except the second floor, or partial occupancy granted for all spaces except the outdoor landscaping, or whatever the case may be. So again, so this is the type of document that sometimes gets issued with an exception type statement. So, and depending on what that statement says, that statement may impact your space at a given location, your permit may not require this document, but you may still be affected by this document because of the larger scope of work, because of the other permit that's going on for that larger scope of work. Next slide. This last slide here is just a slide of some of the more commonly contacted inspection units in the building department. So you can have this for reference in terms of looking up building permit and violation history for any address. For any address in the city of Chicago, you can go to the chicago.gov/buildings website and follow the steps here to enter any city address, and you'll be able to see what permits have been issued, what building code violations have been issued to a given address over the years. For more information regarding, for example, contact information for the Department of Buildings, being able to read the entire building code online, as well as requesting and scheduling your inspections for your building permit. All of that can be done at chicago.gov/buildings websites. Next slide. And I'll pass it over to the health department for their presentation.
Hi, my name is Matithia Island. I'm one of the supervisors for the inspectors for the city of Chicago, Department of Public Health. This is just an overview letting you know that the city of Chicago Department of Public Health is your partner with the common goal of providing safe food and services to public health. We're going to go over plan review requirements, equipment requirements, inspection requirements, and documentation requirements. Next slide. So once establishment or business is ready, you should complete an application with BACP, pay the application fees, the applicable fees, and the inspector is automatically alerted to contact the applicant within 3 to 5 business days to schedule a license inspection. You want to ensure that the information that you place on your application is correct, because that is the information that the department will utilize to contact the business. And please note, as the other department stated, that some inspections are task force inspections where other departments will be present if the establishment is a restaurant that has a liquor license or a children's facility service. It is a task force inspection, but remember that all departments do not come together, they come separately. Next slide. So for plan submittal, if it is for a new construction or an extensive remodel, the Department of Public Health does offer plan review. The establishment should submit the plans directly to the department and receive approval of the plans before construction begins. And please note that we are not connected to E-Plan. If this is a pre-existing facility and an extensive remodel is not going to take place, just remember any remodeling that the facility or establishment does, it must meet the requirements for the current food service municipal code. Operators may use a self-certified architect instead of submitting plans to the department, and the Department of Buildings self-certified architects are not required to submit plans to the Department of Public Health. Next slide. The inspections. So once you're ready for inspections, just know that all construction must be complete. All utilities should be on. All the equipment must be clean and in working properly. And the necessary documentation for inspection should be on site and available for review. Refer to the retail food readiness checklist for a breakdown of the key requirements that the health department is looking for. Next slide. Equipment, the required equipment such as sinks. These are examples of some of the sink requirements that that we have, and it must meet the code. So for example, utility sinks or mop sinks for disposal of wastewater and from when cleaning a facility is the picture on the lower left. Hand sinks must be conveniently located in all food preparation bar areas, food dispensing, dishwashing areas, and toilet areas. 3-compartment sinks should be stainless steel for commercial, or a commercial dishwasher must be on site. Other sinks used for food preparation should be on site as well. Next slide. So adequate hot and cold running water under city pressure is required at all hand sinks. Hot water for the 3-compartment sink must be at least 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Hot water for the hand washing sink must be 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it should not exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Next slide. If for the walk-in and reach-in coolers, you must maintain those at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below, and ensure that there are thermometers placed in each unit to maintain 41 degrees or below. Equipment requirements should be ANSI or NSF approved to meet the sanitation requirements or the food code standard requirements. Ensure that all equipment has an exhaust hood large enough and sufficient to cover the equipment. And you want to refer to the building ventilation codes for specific hood requirements. And maintain the exhaust hoods and make sure that the filters are clean. Next slide. Restroom or toilet room requirements. So you must provide at least one single-use restroom for 10 employees or less present during any shift, or provide a minimum of 2 restrooms for 11 or more employees present at any shift. Customer restrooms must be located in the customer area only, and customers shall not go to the employee area to utilize the restroom. Additional restrooms may be required by other departments such as liquor or public place of amusement. Next slide. Gender neutral restrooms are always an option, but remember, restrooms must be located within the same building and not require employees to exit the building to access the restrooms. And if it's a multi-occupant building, the restroom must be within 2 floors of the retail establishment so that the employees have access to the restroom during all hours of operation. Next slide. Pest control requirements. So facilities must have a licensed pest control service provider, complete information, and it must be kept in a pest control logbook and available for review during inspection. Pest control service provider must be licensed with the Illinois Department of Public Health, and pest control services must be completed at least twice per year. All openings leading to the outside of the facility must have tight seals when closed to prevent rodent and insect entry. Next slide. The exterior of the building where you keep waste disposal, you should have that area clean and maintained and sanitary. And you want to make sure that the facility has commercial dumpsters or refuse disposal. And you should have the adequate pickup frequency for the facility. If the facility offers items that are deep fried or utilize grease, you must have an approved grease disposal method on site, and that is required. Next slide. So moving forward to the required training, the City of Chicago Certified Food Service Manager and allergen training and food handler training are some of the training that's required for establishments. Who is considered a food handler? Any individual working with unpackaged food, food equipment, utensils, food contact surfaces, including uncut, intact fruits, vegetables, and nuts. Next slide. This is an example of their certificate at the bottom of this slide, but the person in charge must have the original certificate on site while food is being prepared, held, and served. Certificates must be posted for customer viewing, and the original certificate has to be on site. We do not accept copies. If the original certificate is not on site, a citation will be issued for this violation. Next slide. Allergen training. So individuals who hold the actual certificate for a Category 1 restaurant must also have allergen training approved awareness certificate. Proof of the certificate must be provided and should be on site during inspection, and training can be obtained from the list of Chicago food sanitation course providers. Next slide. Food handler training, you can find this training online. It's available, but the training must be ANSI accredited, and you can also find a list of this from the Food Service Sanitation Manager Certificate Training providers as well for food handlers. Next slide. Employee health policies. So employees must be trained to inform managers when there are certain illnesses, when they have certain illnesses or symptoms of illnesses. All food service establishments must develop this training and have a written policy, train employees on this policy, and keep record of employees that have been trained on the policy. An example of the employee health policy can be downloaded from the Food Protection website from the contact information slide. Next slide. Cleaning procedures. So this is another policy that the department requires. So all food service establishments must have a written procedure for cleaning vomit and or diarrhea when experiences for bodily fluid happen. This policy must be maintained, and the establishment must maintain all required cleanup supplies on site for the policy. An example of the policy is available on our website, and the establishment has the option to utilize a commercially sold cleanup kit for bodily fluid if rated for neurovirus is included in the instructions, and all required cleanup supplies is included in the kit. Next slide. The left-hand side is a license reinspection request. So if you go through the licensing process and you fail your inspection, the inspector will provide you with the license reinspection request form, which is shown here on the right. And it will have the list of requirements that need to be corrected. Once all required corrections are made and complete, you want to email the department at the stated email, and the inspector will contact the person in charge and schedule the reinspection within 5 business days, not days, just regular days, business days. So the department is not open on Saturday and Sunday. So if you fail your inspection on a Thursday or a Friday, do not count the Saturday and Sunday for the 5 business days. Next slide. If you pass your inspection, after you pass your inspection, please allow for the supervisor to review the inspection report. The department supervisor has up to 2 business days to review the report. During this time, please continue to work with the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection regarding the final steps for the issuance of the license. The retail food establishment license must be posted on premises prior to opening for service. Next slide. Once again, my name is Matithia Island. I am a Chicago Public Health Supervisor for inspectors, and this is the contact information and the email if you have questions and the complaint information. I'm going to turn it over to zoning. Erica?
Thank you, Matizia. My name is Erica Montano. We'll be going over zoning. So we're gonna go over how to use the business zoning guide, example demonstrations, and how to use the municipal code, and zoning tips, and then questions and answers at the end. Next. In Chicago, every business must obtain permission to operate in the zoning district where it is located. For that reason, all City of Chicago business license applications do require a zoning review. That's to ensure that your business is in compliance with the Title 17 of the Chicago Zoning and Land Use Ordinance. Next. So what is zoning? The entire city is divided into zoning districts, each of which allows specific activities. Business activities may be allowed in zoning district either by right or with a special use approval or just not permitted. Next. Zoning districts in the city of Chicago breakdowns as follows. You have residential districts, you have downtown districts, manufacturing districts, and planned manufacturing districts. Next. The BACP website offers a zoning guide access under the chicago.gov/business licensing. You'll simply click on the zoning icon. It will contain easy to use zoning information to get you started on determining whether your business can be located. You always check the code requirements before proceeding with your business plan. Next. So how to use the zoning guide. You'll start by looking up your business category in the table of contents. Next. Then you'll turn to the corresponding page number to find the use that matches your specific business activity. You'll look across the table to see which districts allow the use by right, which would be in green, or special use approval in blue. Next. Finally, use a Chicago zoning map to check in which districts any specific address is located. You can type your address into the zoning map search bar, and you can access the zoning map at chicago.gov/zoning map. Next. Other resources is the Municipal Code of Chicago, which is more updated. The Chicago zoning map and the business call center, you can always give them a call. There is also a zoning advisory opinion letter. So if you wanted an advisory opinion letter, that is processed with the Department of Zoning and Land Use Planning. Next. So we have an example. If you want to open a restaurant without alcohol service, but you are not sure where it is allowed per zoning. Next. You'll look at the table of contents in the zoning guide to find your business sector under the food and beverage. Next. Then find the section under food and beverage in the zoning guide chart and find the specific business use. Next. You'll see that the use of restaurant limited, meaning without alcohol, is allowed in the columns corresponding to the districts. Next. Step 3 would be search your address in the zoning map and click on the specific parcel. You'll see that the example address is on B2. Now you can check against the zoning guide to see if the use is allowed. Next. Finally, consult the Municipal Code of Chicago as well as other available resources. Zoning also drives other business regulatory requirements. When you apply for your business license, the city licensing and zoning team will check to ensure the proper classification of your business activity to see if you're compliant with the use standards, if you are compliant with the parking standards, or if you have the necessary building permits for any construction on the premise, and also the verification of the proper driveway permit. Next. So how to check the business use zoning requirements in the municipal code. We provided the link already for you, which is the code library.amlegal.com/codes/Chicago. Step one, once you're under the Title 17, you'll scroll and click onto that section. Next. So once you click on the chapter corresponding to the zoning district in which your address is located, so in the previous example, it had a B2, you will click under the business and commercial district. Next. Within the business district chapter of the Title 17, you'll scroll to the use table and the standards chart. Then find the use of the restaurant in that table and check the corresponding zoning district. So the P means permitted by right, and S means special use required, and the dash means not permitted. Next. In the Municipal Code Title 17, you must click into the separate chapters for each category of the zoning district, residential, business, downtown, etc., to check the use tables in each chapter separately. Next. What to avoid. Do not make any financial commitment unless you are certain that the location for your proposed business and activity is in compliance with all code requirements. Don't assume that the previous owner zoning designation applies to you. So that means that there could be different factors. Either someone was granted a special use, someone was granted a variation. It was only solely for that person, or somebody came in, it was previously a retail business, and now you're trying to establish a restaurant. There was plumbing work that was done without permits. So always please do your due diligence. Next. So again, other things to consider is the Zoning Board of Appeals. Some uses do require special use and or variation from the Zoning Board of Appeals. We've provided a list of certain businesses that do trigger special use, which are beauty, nail, and barbershops, massage establishments, non-accessory parking, outdoor patios that are above the first floor, taverns or expansion of taverns, pawn shops, valuable objects dealer, tattoo shops, microblading, and permanent makeup. And for variations, if you're required to obtain a PPA and you're abutting a residential district, which is an RS1, 2, or 3, then you would have to file for that. Next. So if you have any doubts, please contact us for any type of guidance. We're located at the Small Business Center at City Hall, 121 North LaSalle. Or if you want, you can always give us a call at 312-744-6249. Thanks.
All right, thank you guys, all of you. We do have a few questions in the chat. Give me a sec. Here's one. If you're asking now, please do add in the department specifically. It just helps with answering the question. So somebody said, hello, since plastic bags are not generally recyclable, must a plastic bag specific recycling drop off be available?
No, you just need to have like a garbage can or some type of receptacle and have it assigned as recyclable. You can just post a sign on that says recycling.
Thank you. At what point in the process should I apply for the City of Chicago license? Before or after I have my lease signed, equipment installed, and health inspection completed?
Prior to applying for a license, I would ensure that that business is zoned for that area, and if you are selling like tobacco or liquor, just make sure that there aren't any location restrictions. Because once you pay for the license, and if your license is denied, you will not get that money back.
Thank you. So this is a clarification. So licenses change with owners for business at any time?
This, I'm not sure I understand that question, but so I'll respond in this manner. If you own a business, or if you're buying or if you're getting the business from someone, you cannot operate off their license. So each business has separate ownership. I guess view it like a driver's license. You can't operate somebody else's business, or you can't operate your business off of someone else's license.
I can answer this one. Will we receive a link to the presentation slides? No, but this is being recorded and it'll be up on our YouTube page sometime within the next couple days. YouTube.com/Chicago BACP. Um, is Um, can you touch down on the types of licenses and inspections that would be needed for a brick and mortar retail store that would not be selling food, drink, alcohol, cigarettes? Also, are there any additional inspections or licenses if the business is going to be a nonprofit?
So if you're not selling food, liquor, tobacco, generally that would be a limited business license. Nonprofit, it depends on what your business activity is. Just because someone says that they are a nonprofit does not exempt them from licensing.
Also, if you're renting the property, would it be the landlord who would handle any permits and inspections or the business owner?
The business owner, unless, well, it would be the business owner because the inspections and the permits would be for the business.
Thank you. Inspections/permits specific to construction if it is a build to suit. Sorry, I don't see the question there. I'm going to go to another one. What sorts of permits, licenses, and inspections do you need if you're planning to open up a vending machine business?
For the vending machines, those are, it depends on what they're vending. But as far as for zoning, they will have to have an actual location where they can store the vending machines, whether they're on premise or they're off premise.
Thank you. City inspections question. What is the best way to get in contact with the appropriate alderman to get approval signatures? And is a business license needed for business that operate online but physically assist companies in the city of Chicago, like a consulting business?
That they have to provide a little bit more information. What do they mean by approval signatures? Um, Yeah, I'm not trying. I don't understand what they're trying to say on their questions.
Okay. Yeah, a lot of these are like getting chopped off. They're like, I can't follow. Let me check this.
It's because they're not really clear. They're asking a question, but they have to be very clear on
Yeah.
their actual questions.
hmm Um, so can we find info so the BACP website, the best one to go to, chicago.gov/business licensing, that's like the main website for the small business center. Um, and okay, here's a question. When purchasing a tavern that was sold as a corporation, not an individual, considering zoning and maximum occupancy, would the new owner need to redo this even if the liquor license was part of the corporation?
Where is that one at?
On the chat from 4:29 p.m.
I don't see it. Let me try. When purchasing a tavern that was sold as a corporation, not as an individual, considering zoning and a maximum occupancy, would the new owner need to redo this even the liquor license? Any type of change of use, whether it's a sole proprietor or it's a corporation, first you have to verify if the zoning district is in compliance with the use. Also, is the license current? So there's a lot of factors on that, but any type of change of use, whether it's sole proprietor, corporation, or LLC, any new legal entity will have to obtain a new occupancy under the name.
All right, and we have time for maybe like one or two more questions, but we are past um the 4:30 deadline. Um, Somebody asks, will you provide a webinar that addresses other businesses such as daycares? We so yeah, we have different webinars like all the time. I would recommend going to chicago.gov/BACP webinars, and there is the calendar of upcoming ones. There's also, you can like sign up for our newsletter that will just email you every week what the webinars are. And then feel free to email any, recommendations that you have. Um, I don't know for certain if we already have had one about daycares, but if you search our YouTube page with all our past webinars, that might be a good spot too. Let's see. Oh, I saw that. Does the alderman have to approve for you to open a business in their district?
That question has different factors depending on what they're applying for. If it's liquor, non-liquor, you know,
Mm. Okay, let's use this as the last one. I'll be renting my space for my business, that was already a restaurant setting. I will sell just breakfast sandwiches, coffee and lunch only, no alcohol, no tobacco. What kind of permits will I need for around 775 square feet?
um, first it just depends on one that actual restaurant setting was. Again, everything is a case by case depending on the location. So if you have any further more questions, that would be something you could possibly come into our office so we can assist you with that. I'm also here in the office, so if you want to come and ask for me, for Erica, then you could come and do so, and I can help you out with that.
All right, thank you. And then we're gonna end it here. Everyone just take a look at the slide that's currently up with those email addresses. Honestly, the bottom one, BACP outreach at City of Chicago, any question that you have that wasn't answered, or like if we said we couldn't answer it because we needed more details, email it to that and we'll be able to get it to the right person. And with that, thank you for attending and have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care.